room. This is the play that just occurred.
That's like she tries to slide over right there, and Hartley just kind of falls and makes collision with that lower leg. You see her immediately grab it. And she went down hard and was clearly in a lot of pain.
Was this an accident or a hit job? In one of the most disturbing scenes of the WNBA season, Sophie Cunningham went down screaming. It wasn't just the way she collapsed. It was the way her body twisted, her hand instantly reaching for her knee, the stunned silence from the crowd, and the lack of any whistle from the officials. No foul, no stoppage, just pain. And this wasn't some isolated play. For fans of the Indiana Fever, this felt like a boiling point. Sophie's injury wasn't just unlucky. It felt inevitable, because every time this team faces the Connecticut Sun, someone gets hurt. First, it was Caitlin Clark, flattened by a groin shot that's kept her sidelined for over a month. Then came the eye poke, the reckless fouls, the brutal drives that always seem to go uncalled, and now this? Sophie Cunningham down, unable to walk, with even her own family calling the league out for failing to protect its players.
We got Sophie Cunningham writhing around in pain, definitely hurt, and Sophie's one tough cookie. If Sophie's kicking and screaming like this, no Will Farrell. She's in pain. We even have Connecticut Sun players. Look at that. Connecticut Sun players, Connecticut Sun training staff coming up to her as the Fever starts making their way down.
If you're rooting for Sophie's recovery and you believe the Fever deserve better, drop a comment below and let her know she's not alone. But what happened after that moment, no one saw coming.
Shot clock down to 6 for the Fever. Turner, up fade. Turner kicks it. Hold three-pointer. Bottom!
Indiana, she's...
7 on the shot clock, 25 seconds in regulation.
They gotta get to the rim.
Charles has to hoist and connects. Wow. The Indiana Fever prove their resiliency.
Fever dub! Dub in the chat. Yeah. And the win goal!
Let's not pretend this came out of nowhere. Sophie's injury was just the latest in a string of physical, borderline violent encounters between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun. It started earlier in the season. Caitlin Clark took a groin hit so vicious it ended her streak of appearances. Fans were outraged, but the league barely blinked. Then it happened again. J.C. Sheldon raked Clark's eye on a fast break, leaving visible damage. Another hard foul by Marina Mabre sent her sprawling onto the hardwood. Time after time, the Fever left those games bruised and battered. Now it was Sophie Cunningham's turn. This time, Bria Hartley barreled into her knee on a drive. Sophie collapsed instantly, screaming, clutching at her leg. And the refs? Nothing. Not even a review.
How does she magically lower her shoulder into Sophie Cunningham's legs? Can somebody please explain that to me? Can somebody please explain those physics again? Don't want to hear it, because this is a dirty player.
The reaction was instant. Fans stood and screamed at the officials. Sophie's teammates stared in disbelief. Even Connecticut players looked shaken. On social media, the outrage poured in. But the loudest voices came from inside her own family. Her sister Lindsay posted directly at the league. Maybe focus less on fining players for calling out poor officiating, and more on hiring refs who can protect your athletes. Her mother Paula called Hartley plain mean and out of control before deleting the post, but not before it was screen captured and shared everywhere. To many, these weren't just angry relatives. They were saying what everyone else was thinking. This wasn't a freak accident. It was a predictable disaster, and the league had done nothing to stop it. The moment it happened, everything stopped. Midway through the second quarter, Sophie Cunningham was doing what she always does, fighting under the rim, scrapping for position, battling through contact. Then Bria Hartley drove baseline. She lost her footing and crashed directly into Sophie's right knee. The arena went silent. Sophie hit the floor hard, immediately reaching for her leg. Her screams echoed through the broadcast. She couldn't stand, couldn't even sit upright. Just pain, raw and real, etched into her face. And still, no whistle, no foul, no stoppage, nothing.
Do you have an update on Sophie?
Yeah. Let's do more like MRIs or something.
Yeah, MRI tomorrow.
Sorry, just quickly on something. I mean, what's going through your mind when you see her down like that and you're jogging over there?
I'm like, holy shit. I mean, especially the way that she fell and, how she was holding herself and how much pain she was in. At the time, it's like crap, and then you go down there and you see her and it's like, okay, just want her to calm down and be able to regroup.
Even as Sophie writhed in agony under the basket, play continued. It wasn't until teammates and training staff sprinted over that the officials even acknowledged something was wrong. The Connecticut Sun's own players looked stunned. One even gestured towards Sophie, clearly shaken, but the damage was already done.
Oh, and Cunningham is down. My goodness. Should be. You know, scary moment as we went to commercial. Sophie Cunningham hit the floor hard, and she is being helped off the floor, heading back to the locker room.
She couldn't walk. Trainers had to help her off the court, and fans watched, furious as the officials still said nothing. This was no ordinary injury, and fans knew it. On social media, rage exploded, but it was what came from Sophie's family that truly blew the lid off.
Bria Hartley deserves zero benefit of the doubt. And Sophie Cunningham's family not too happy. I believe this is Mama C. Hartley is a disgruntled player having trouble everywhere she goes. She's playing mean and plays out of control. Looked out of control to me. Maybe you should focus, her sister. Maybe you should focus less on finding players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are capable to call a consistent game and protect your athletes. Pathetic. Praying for you. The only good thing positive surrounding Sophie Cunningham come out of this game, she looked in good spirits in the locker room.
Her sister Lindsay didn't hold back. She went straight at the WNBA. Maybe you should focus less on finding players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are able to call a consistent game and protect your athletes. Pathetic. Her mom Paula took it even further, blasting Hartley as a disgruntled player who plays mean and out of control. The post was later deleted, but the message? Crystal clear. The fans had already suspected it. Now her family confirmed it. Sophie wasn't just injured. She was left exposed. And to them, it wasn't bad luck. It was negligence. This was no longer about one injury. It was about what happens when dangerous play becomes routine and no one steps in to stop it. Before the ball even tipped, Indiana was already in deep trouble.
Every day in our huddle, that's what we say together. And it's just more than words for us. I think when you see things happening, there's no other way. If you spread apart, the season goes down quicker than anything else. And we talk about with the injuries, people are probably expecting us to just fold, just like you said, and that's not us. We come in the locker room and we're motivated. We continue to be motivated every single time we step on that floor. At halftime, we were motivated, chip away, and that's our mindset. And just continue to uplift people. When one person goes down, we say it all the time, the next woman stands up. And that's really just been our motto and been what we've had to do a lot this season, and that's what we're just going to continue to do.
They didn't just come into this game short-handed. They came in missing their entire point guard rotation. Caitlin Clark was still out, nursing that groin injury from mid-July, the one that sparked its own round of controversy. Sydney Colson, torn ACL, done for the season. Ari McDonald, still recovering from a broken foot. That's not just a few injuries. That's 3 floor generals gone. With no one left to direct the offense, head coach Stephanie White had to rip up the playbook and start from scratch. While other teams were tightening sets for playoff runs, the Fever were asking who's even available to bring the ball up. They weren't strategizing. They were surviving.
After Phoenix, it was a quick turnaround to figure out, how we're going to play without, Ari and Sid. And now we got to figure out how we're going to play without Soph. And we've got to figure out, who can play in certain roles. What are our substitution patterns going to be? What kind of wrinkles can we throw out there? It doesn't get easier. And I think we come back and have Minnesota twice. Right, so it's really good mentally, physically, and emotionally for us, and then it gives us practice time, which we're going to need.
In her own words, we had to figure out who can play in certain roles, what our substitution patterns would look like, what kind of wrinkles we could throw out there. It doesn't get easier. The margin for error was already razor thin, but when Sophie Cunningham, arguably the team's grittiest player and a core part of their floor spacing, went down early in the second quarter, things got even worse. No shooting, no toughness, no leadership. Rotations fell apart. The bench was threadbare. Players were being thrown into roles they hadn't trained for, and White's coaching staff was plugging holes like it was a sinking ship. By halftime, it was clear. This wasn't just about basketball anymore. It was about holding the team together. On paper, they should have been blown out. No Caitlin Clark, no Sophie Cunningham, no true point guard, just chaos. But what happened next? No one could have predicted it. For much of the first half, Kelsey Mitchell looked quiet, with just 4 points by halftime, and Indiana trailing by double digits. Even the most diehard fans could feel the outcome slipping. No one would have blamed the Fever for folding. They'd lost lost their star rookie weeks ago. Their floor leader was gone. Sophie had just been carried off the court. Everything pointed toward collapse. But then came the shift. After the break, something snapped in Mitchell, and what followed was nothing short of legendary. She demanded the ball. She attacked every defender. She didn't just take shots, she took over. Mitchell exploded for 34 second-half points, including 10 in overtime, tying her career high with 38 total, and posting the highest single-game scoring performance in the league this season. At a time when Indiana could barely run a structured offense, Mitchell became the system.
An assassin! Kelsey Mitchell has a new career high! Backdoor Mitchell bouncing in the paint for two. Kelsey Mitchell, the big is matched up. Mitchell squeezing through for two at the foul. Fouls on the other end. It's Mitchell launching it and connecting.
And she didn't do it with reckless heat checks. She did it with surgical precision. 11 of 22 from the field, 5 of 8 from deep, 11 of 12 from the free throw line, 6 assists to go with it.
Your New England Ford dealers and the Ford Bronco family goat modes, the official SUVs of the Connecticut Sun. Mitchell connects.
Reading the defense and reckless closeout. So you have to make sure you let the shooter land here. Landing space needs to happen. Looks like Mitchell also clutching her leg here as well.
Regular closeout review. If it is, it's going to be 2 to make 1. Okay, go take 1 in.
Every shot felt like it could break the game open, and she kept delivering. Step backs, pull-ups, contact finishes, late shot clock daggers. She was untouchable.
We will never be counted out. Because that is worth gold. That is worth gold. Kels, goddamn baby. Put us on your back. Oh, big time.
Coach Stephanie White said it best. She put us on her back. Big shot after big shot. Big play after big play. Even Connecticut couldn't stop her. They rotated defenders, pressed up, switched matchups. It didn't matter. Mitchell had locked in, and no one was pulling her out of it. And from the sidelines, someone was watching. Though Caitlin Clark wasn't at the game due to a family matter, she still made her voice heard. 1 tweet, 2 words, MVP Kels. Because this wasn't just a hot night, it was a message.
Kelsey, your second half, you get 34 of your points just
Damn!
the last after halftime. What took over you? How did you get it done on the floor?
I think it was more about what we did from a standpoint of like the mindset and the mentality. From half to half, it sucked for me. First half, it just wasn't, and I think that, it wasn't as well for our group, but the resiliency is true in our room. Seeing Soph go down and then knowing what happened with Sid and knowing what happened with Ari, and then knowing what happened with Cece, it's like, I think a lot of it was just God and being able to like stay prepared and stay in your mental state to be able to compete. But I really think that that's the most resilient that we've ever been because of everything we've been through. So I think a lot of it you just tap into your team and you just love on your team. And I think, great things can happen.
Mitchell wasn't playing like a placeholder until Clark returns. She was playing like a franchise anchor, someone capable of carrying the team when everything else had broken down. If you thought this was Caitlin Clark's team alone, you weren't watching Kelsey Mitchell that night.
I don't even think there are any words. I mean, when you look at Kelsey's play and you look at what she means to the squad, coming on that second half and going off the way that she did, I think it kind of speaks for her case in general. She comes out, she defends, she scores the ball, she plays 40 minutes a game. And it's just like, and she still consistently puts up these numbers. I feel like if she's not MVP, shoot.
MVP is crazy. I don't even think I thought about that.
That's cool.
If you believe Kelsey deserves to be in the MVP conversation, hit that like button and back her up. Kelsey Mitchell was the spark, but no fire burns without fuel.
In a low stance defensively matched up with Mitchell. Fires up a 3. Kelsey Mitchell! Oh my! Mitchell comes back for it with 8. Sims, up fake, back out, Mitchell. Got Rivers in the air. Kelsey Mitchell again. You betcha! Wow!
Behind every game-winning takeover is a cast of players who make the hustle plays, hold the defense together, and steady the ship when it's about to capsize. And that's exactly what happened in this one. Start with Odyssey Sims, a player who wasn't even supposed to be here. Signed on a hardship contract just to keep the roster afloat. Sims stepped in like she'd been part of this team all season. She scored 19 points, handed out 7 assists, and became the steadying hand Indiana desperately needed.
Mabry knifes off the screen. Charles is doubled.
And Indiana looks like they're in a zone right now.
Kick out and stolen by Mitchell. Explodes 2-on-1. Sims elevates for 2 and a foul.
Bug with their point guards. This is where you have Odyssey Sims coming in. Kelsey Mitchell making a great heads-up play here, but Odyssey Sims has done a great job early on coming in.
No Clark, no McDonald, no Colson. That meant no point guard. Sims became the point guard. She broke full court pressure, navigated traps, organized possessions, and, most importantly, got the ball to Mitchell in rhythm, again and again. For a player who had just walked into the rotation, she looked like a veteran leader, calm, focused, clutch. Then there was Aaliyah Boston. Her stat line, quietly dominant. 14 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals. Her 15th double-double of the season, a new franchise record.
Boston backs down Hartley. Aaliyah Boston, excellent post position. Picks up the dribble. Shot clock winding down to 7. Mabry, lob pass. Charles catches. No foul call. That's a huge no call. Looks for cutters. Charles the defense. Back on to Boston. Tina Charles. Backdoor Mitchell pouncing in the paint for 2. 30 points for Mitchell. That's the 4th on Charles.
Can't get caught ball watching right there. Great recognition by Boston as Mitchell makes that backdoor cut.
But it wasn't just the numbers, it was her presence. Boston fought off constant double teams, kept possessions alive with offensive boards, and erased mistakes with timely blocks. Her interior doll events and floor vision kept Indiana from unraveling every time the Sun tried to surge. At both ends of the court, Boston was the spine of the team.
Shot clock down to 6 for the Fever. Turner, up fade. Turner kicks it. Hole three-pointer. Bottom!
Indiana's just...
Natasha Howard added the muscle. Her 18 points and 9 rebounds gave Indiana the physical edge they needed in the paint. She absorbed contact, moved bodies, and scored through defenders when Mitchell needed a breather. Her mid-game scoring stretch kept the Fever in striking distance and gave them enough breathing room to stage their comeback.
Circles back. Howard, assertive, 2 and the foul. Fever fans have come alive and a chance to make this a 1-possession game. Wow!
And Brianna Turner, she didn't fill the stat sheet, but what she did can't be measured in box scores.
Breezy! You are the consummate professional. We love you. We appreciate you. Yeah. You were huge. Shout you. AB, point forward. Hey, and like, look, you can't underestimate what it means to have somebody like her who just does whatever we ask, right? Does whatever. I mean, everybody really. Lex, that was a huge. Cross your activity all.
Coach Stephanie White singled her out postgame for one reason: defense. Her length disrupted passing lanes. Her switches forced awkward matchups. Her energy on closeouts forced Connecticut into second guesses and late shots. Every stop gave the Fever another chance, and she delivered stop after stop. These weren't the headline makers. They weren't the ones in highlight reels. But without Sims, Boston, Howard, and Turner, Mitchell's 38 points would have just been an impressive stat in another loss. Instead, they were the foundation for a comeback that felt impossible. Every comeback needs a closer, and on this night, with the Fever clinging to a fragile lead in overtime, it wasn't Mitchell, Sims, or Boston who delivered the final blow. It was Lexi Hull, the gritty defender, the role player, the quiet worker in the shadows. With just 44.9 seconds left in overtime, and Indiana desperate to shut the door, Hull drifted into the corner as the defense collapsed on Turner's drive. One skip pass, one heartbeat, one clean look. Bang. Corner 3. Bottom of the net. Connecticut stunned. Crowd erupting. Lexi Hull, who had just 8 points on the night, had just buried the shot that sealed the Fever's most improbable win of the season. That single bucket didn't just break the Suns' momentum, it broke their spirit. And the irony? Hull isn't even known for her shooting. She's built her place in the league through effort plays, hustle on defense, boxing out, fighting through screens, making the smart rotation. She's the player who does the dirty work so stars can shine. But on this night, when the Fever needed one final knockout punch, it was Hull who stepped up, unflinching, ready, cold-blooded. It was a reminder that championship culture isn't built on superstars alone. It's built on players who are ready when their moment comes. games. Lexi Hull didn't just make a shot, she made a statement. This team isn't one-dimensional, and they're not going away quietly. When the final buzzer sounded, the scoreboard showed a 99-93 Fever win, but the real story was waiting behind closed doors. In the locker room, it wasn't about stats. It wasn't about who scored what. It was about something deeper, something raw. This wasn't just a win, it was a release.
And that's what it's going to take. Okay, that's what it's going to take. We got to play free. We got to play with no pressure, but we fight. Live that resilience every day, and we will accomplish what we want to accomplish. Okay, come on. Yeah, here we go. Together, 3, 1, 2, 3. Together.
Coach Stephanie White stood in the center of the huddle, voice shaking with pride, and said what everyone was thinking. I know it sometimes sounds like just words when we talk about being resilient, but it's not. It's how we live. It's how y'all live. She pointed to her players, exhausted, emotional, unified, and told them exactly what they had proved, that through injury, chaos, and doubt, they had refused to break. I'm so proud of you guys. It's a tribute to your connectedness, your toughness, your never give up, gritty attitudes.
I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you guys. I know that sometimes it sounds like just a word when we talk about being resilient, but it's not, man. It's how we live. Yeah. It's how y'all live, and it's a tribute to you. It's a tribute to your connectedness, your togetherness, your toughness, your mindset. Your never give up gritty attitudes. Like, that's what it takes. That's what it takes. And
there were hugs, tears, smiles that only come after surviving something bigger than basketball. Kelsey Mitchell, who had just carried the franchise to its biggest comeback ever, wasn't soaking in the spotlight. She was lifting others up, and they all knew what this moment meant. This wasn't just a good win. It was the win, the kind you circle in the season recap, the kind that shows up in highlight reels years later when people talk about when it all started to change. Because if there was ever a night the Fever had every reason to fold, it was this one. No Caitlin Clark, no point guards. Sophie Cunningham, taken out in brutal fashion, down by 21, but instead of folding, they fought. And instead of blaming the refs or the injuries or the schedule, they responded with heart. And when Sophie's family was calling out the league, her teammates were calling each other to rise. Every person in that locker room knew this wasn't about one win. It was about who they are and who they're becoming. This wasn't just a win. This was a statement. The Indiana Fever didn't just survive Connecticut. They outlasted, outworked, and outwilled one of the toughest teams in the league. And they did it with their backs slammed against the wall. No Clark, no Cunningham, no point guards. And yet somehow, they walked out of that arena with the franchise's largest comeback win ever, a 99-93 overtime thriller, and a grip still tight on their playoff hopes. Kelsey Mitchell's career night showed the world she's more than just a complimentary scorer. She's a leader, a franchise cornerstone, the kind of player who can carry the weight when everything else falls apart. And on this night, she carried all of it, but it wasn't just her. Odyssey Sims reminded everyone why she's a veteran team's trust, even when she signed at the last second. Aaliyah Boston did what stars do when no one's watching. Dominate the gritty moments and anchor the chaos. Lexi Hull made the shot that froze time. And the rest of the roster, they locked in. They didn't fold, they rose. The message to the rest of the WNBA was clear. This team is not Caitlin Clark and company. This is a squad built on resilience, on grit, on belief. And if you still think Indiana's a one-player story, you haven't been paying attention. Because on a night when all the headlines were about injury, revenge, and chaos, the Fever reminded the league that they are more than a storyline. They're a threat, they're still standing, and they're not going anywhere. If you believe this team has what it takes to shock the league and make a deep playoff run, drop a phi in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because this ride is just getting started. Click the video on your screen to keep watching, and we'll see you in the next one.